Hey Pete, Penniless Cripple here. You've raised some points that continue to be raised, so I'm going to address some of them and maybe at the same time address other people. Anyway, I think our common ground is that many of us see that civilization is destroying the human soul and the planet. But one place where we differ seems to be in our perceptions of the roots of the problem. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you seem to assert that civilization is based on slavery, and I say it's based on violence. And I totally get what you say about slavery, but I see slavery as a logical outcome of a system that's based on profit and production, and that profit and production uses violence toward all life. Where we tended to butt heads in the comments is that I don't see how people can say, oh yeah, civilization is destroying us, and then turn around and support this accelerating trajectory of madness by suggesting that we can somehow fix it, or somehow mitigate the harm, or cope with it, or accommodate ourselves to it. I just find that unacceptable. And I really seriously lose it when people suggest that just one more dose of technology will save us, when technology's done nothing but totally accelerate the destruction of the planet. To me, that's obvious. And all it does is it tosses us a few baubles to play with and drowns us in propaganda. So really, for people who think that technology is going to save us, all I can say is that it's really tragic how successful the brainwashing is. Now, I know this isn't a popular stance, but I'm not interested in bickering about magical solar curtains and artificial hearts, because I see no benefits of industrial civilization. Absolutely none. Every supposed benefit only benefits the people at the top of the pyramid, and it brings along buckets of harm. If people can't see the linkages between industrial production and harm, that doesn't mean they aren't there. And I would even argue that the benefits for the people at the top aren't really benefits. They're just toxic mimics. You don't have to look very far to find examples of people at the top of the pyramid who are miserable. This brings us to another point, and that is that, contrary to popular belief, industrial civilization doesn't have the corner on culture. All societies have technology, medicine, science, the art. They just don't industrialize them. They don't exploit them for profit and production. They don't use them to serve Mammon, who, as far as I can tell, is the only real god of civilization. And I think we all know that there are cultures outside of civilization, in the past and in the present, that are based on the well-being not of the few at the top, but of all of the life in the community. We could learn a lot from these cultures if we really want to move forward, because they know how to do it and we don't. So, to sum it up, civilization is rotten at the very foundation because it's based on violence. It is based on what is good for profit and production, not what is good for the people. Now, if you can figure a way to change that foundation, that's great. But then you wouldn't have civilization anymore. If you don't address the foundation, anything else is just a futile attempt to fix it or cope with it. It's just accommodating and perpetuating this intolerable system. It's just using pretty paint, pretty wallpaper to decorate a building that's flawed at the foundation. Now, in one of your comments, Pete, you say, I am for viable strategies to deal with the immediate problems I face. I need food and a roof over my head, and I live in an urban culture not through my choice, but because of the way the system is set up. I have no access to land. I am struggling to live in ways that don't reproduce this system of slavery that you call civilization. Now, I totally hear that, and I face similar challenges, as does everyone. And trying to get your real needs met in this culture is like swimming upstream. But this marks a key point where I differ in the way that I participate on YouTube. There are a lot of people in this conversation who are talking about personal survival. And that's fine. I support those conversations. I understand those conversations, but I don't really join into them because for me it's not about my personal survival. What I'm saying is, yes, let's explore permaculture and intentional communities and all of those great things, but we should never be fooled into thinking that they are sufficient, because civilization will ultimately do to any intentional community what it has done to all intentional communities throughout history: consume it. And we also need to keep in mind that walking away is not something that happens someday, somewhere. It's not geographical. It's not in the future. If you have to spend money or move or wait to be free, you're not free. It is, as Chris says, a mindset.
Beyond civilization isn't in the woods. It's a mindset. And it's right here. And I'm already there. And I want you to come.
Now, the main reason I'm not interested in the what about me conversation is that I have no expectation that I'll be free in my lifetime, that I'll have total real community, totally healthy food, clean water to swim in, even though of course I do my best to make these things, it's our birthright, and I do my best to make it a reality in a system that's robbed me of them. And yes, as you say in another comment, his civilization is a hall of mirrors. I like that metaphor. It's because civilization's very disorienting, confusing. Things aren't as they seem. It's easy to get trapped in. It's hard to get out of. But I want to take a sledgehammer to those mirrors. I don't want to gaze in them and become entranced in them and see ugly things and call them pretty. I don't want to pretend to be comfortable in a very uncomfortable place. I mean, people always say civilization's about comfort. Well, I find it wildly uncomfortable. If you look at native cultures, I don't see a lot of discomfort, but when I look around inside of our culture, I see a lot of discomfort. Even the mattresses we sleep on are poisoning us. So the bottom line is, civilization's not only unsustainable, it's unbearable. And yes, I want out, but I can't be out until everyone else is. I want future generations to be born into true freedom, the real community, a healthy planet that supports all life forms. That's all this conversation is about for me. That's the only reason I've stuck with YouTube this long. I want to use it to end civilization. Because I know that if we could hear future generations speaking, and some of us think we can, they would have only one request. Stop it. Stop the harm. Stop it now.